We're going to talk about codependency this morning. Codependency, is it the shame, the underlying reason, and how complex post-traumatic stress disorder causes the need for validation and self-worth to survive? Yes, codependency can develop from many pathways, and complex post-traumatic stress disorder can be one important pathway. Complex PTSD does not automatically cause codependency. It is more accurate to think of codependent behavior as a learned relational adaptation that can emerge when a person repeatedly learns that safety, connection, or worth depend on managing another person's emotions or needs. One important clinical distinction: codependency is not a DSM-5 diagnosis. It is a descriptive term for a pattern of excessive responsibility for another person, difficulty maintaining boundaries, self-neglect, and deriving self-worth from being needed. What lays the foundation for codependency is there are several factors that can converge. One is the childhood emotional neglect. Your feelings weren't consistently noticed or validated. You learned to suppress your needs to preserve connection. Number two, parentification. You became the emotional caretaker of a parent, sibling, or a family system. You learned, I am valuable when I take care of everyone else. And number third is the unpredictable caregiving. Love, attention, or approval depended on the caregiver's mood. The child becomes highly attentive to other people's emotional states. And number four is the chronic criticism, shame, or conditional love. The developing self-concept becomes organized around something is wrong with me. And number five is the exposure to addiction, emotional vitality, abuse, or domestic conflicts. The child may learn that preventing someone else's anger or crisis is necessary for my survival. And number six is insecure attachment, particularly for the disorganized relational patterns, can contribute to hypervigilance, abandonment, fears, reassurance seeking, and difficulty distinguishing intimacy over responsibility. And number seven is the cultural or family belief. For example, good people sacrifice themselves. Family comes first no matter what, or you don't say no to people you love. And none of these automatically produces codependency. They are risk factors, not your destiny. Where does complex post-traumatic stress disorder fit with this? But this is where the connection becomes particularly interesting. The ICD-11 conceptualizes that complex post-traumatic stress disorder as PTSD plus three areas of disturbances in self-organization. Number one, emotional dysregulation, negative self-concept, and relational difficulties. Those three areas overlap substantially with the psychological territory in which codependent patterns can develop. For example, trauma equals to hypervigilance, monitoring other people's emotions to preventing conflict, suppressing your own needs, becoming indispensable, difficulty setting boundaries. That can eventually look like, if you're okay, I'm okay. If you're angry, I must have done something. I can't say no. I need to fix this. And if I stop taking care of you, you will leave. Finally, your crisis becomes my crisis. That's not necessarily love. Sometimes it is a nervous system that is organized around preventing relational danger. Research has supported a very strong relationship between childhood maltreatment and complex post-traumatic stress disorder with emotional processing, self-concept, interpersonal functioning, disassociation, and social factors identified as important mechanisms. So how much does complex post-traumatic stress disorder causes codependency? We cannot responsibly give a percentage such as complex PTSD causes 70% of codependency, just can't do that. There isn't a validated casual statistic like that, and the direction can actually go both ways conceptually. Childhood relational trauma, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, symptom codependency coping, but also childhood relational trauma, codependent coping, repeated unhealthy relationships causes further trauma. So in other words, codependency can become a survival strategy that outlives the environment in which it was originally useful. That distinction matters enormously. A child who learned, I have to keep that, may become an adult who unconsciously believes that I have to keep my partner happy, even when there is no danger or no longer an immediate threat. Why the complex post-traumatic stress can make codependent patterns particularly persistent? Well, complex post-traumatic stress disorder can affect 3 systems simultaneously. One is your nervous system, and you may become highly sensitive to anger, rejection, withdrawal, silence, or changes in someone else's tones. And number 2 is the self-concept. You may carry shame, guilt, inadequacy, or the belief that your needs are less. And number 3 is the relationships. You may struggle with emotional intimacy, boundaries, trust, or maintaining a stable sense of yourself inside the relationship. And this creates a powerful loop. So the loop looks like this. I don't feel safe alone. Therefore, I overfunction in relationships. And therefore, I abandon myself. And therefore, I build resentments. And therefore, I fear losing the relationship. And therefore, I overfunction even more. That's one reason simply telling someone when entrenched codependent patterns to set boundaries isn't always enough. The nervous system may interpret boundaries as abandonment or danger. So how do you recover? And here is what I would say. Recovery isn't about becoming cold, selfish, or emotionally detached. It's about moving from I am responsible for your emotional state to I can care about you without being responsible for you. Number 1, learn to identify your own needs and wants. That's very important. Start asking, what am I feeling? What do I need? What do I want? What am I afraid will happen if I say no? Am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or because I'm afraid of their anger or their reaction? That last question is particularly powerful. And number 2, you need to separate empathy from responsibility. You can say, I understand you're upset, without saying, therefore, I must fix your emotions. Empathy does not require self-abandonment. And I think there's some confusion with that. So practicing defensive boundaries in small doses. Don't begin with dramatic ultimatums. Start with, I can't talk about this thing right now. I will talk with you tomorrow. Or, I'm not comfortable doing that. Or, that's something you will need to handle yourself. Yes, you're going to have the courage to say that. And then another word is a complete sentence. No. And then tolerate the discomfort that follows. The discomfort does not necessarily mean you've done something wrong. Sometimes it means your nervous system is learning a new behavior, a new response, a new way to be. And number 4 is you need to work on the underlying trauma. If complex PTSD is present, treating only the codependent behavior may leave the underlying survival system untouched. So cognitive behavior therapy, mindfulness, yoga, individualized, like current clinical guidance that supports based multi-model approaches for complex PTSD, addressing stabilization, self-regulation, trauma-related symptoms, and interpersonal functioning as appropriate. Rebuild your identity outside of the relationship and ask, who am I when nobody needs me? That's a powerful question. Develop friendships, interests, values independent decisions, financial autonomy when possible, solitude, tolerance, physical and emotional care. The goal is not independence instead of connection. It's connection without losing yourself. And learn to tolerate other people's disappointments. This is often one of the hardest parts for a codependent. Someone being disappointed doesn't automatically mean that you did something wrong. Someone being angry doesn't automatically mean you are unsafe. Someone withdrawing doesn't automatically mean you must chase them. That's where trauma-informed boundary work becomes transformative. And number 7 is to choose reciprocity over rescue. A healthier relationship asks, are we mutually responsible for this relationship? Rather than, how can I endure to keep this relationship alive? The deeper recovery, ultimately, codependency recovery, is not simply learning to say no. It's learning that you can love someone without rescuing them. You can empathize without absorbing their emotions, without relating from your pain to their pain. You can have boundaries without being cruel. You can disappoint someone without abandoning them. You can leave an unhealthy relationship without being a bad person. Actually, there's no such thing as a good and bad, it just is. And perhaps most importantly, you don't have to earn love by becoming indispensable. For someone whose codependent patterns developed alongside complex post-traumatic stress disorder, healing often means teaching the nervous system something the childhood environment never taught it. I am allowed to exist in a relationship without disappearing inside it. This is the intersection between trauma, the recovery, the attachment, the repair, the boundaries, and codependency. And that is where the recovery begins. Thank you for watching my video, and if you liked, please subscribe to my channel, support my channel to grow, and you can leave a comment. You can like the video if you found it to be educational and helpful. Thank you.